This time on Tricks and Tribulations, I'm going to be trying a Railflip late hard flip. Let's do it. Welcome back to Rad Rat Video Channel, where I do all kinds of weird skateboarding stuff. And recently I've been trying to recapture my glory days of like 2006 and redo some of the tricks that I was doing back then. Last time I did a kickflip, back foot underflip. Kind of. I got really close. I got about as close as I cared to because that trick was just impossible. And I said at the end of the video that I was going to pick something easier next time. I don't know if this is easier, but I have done it before. It is a Railflip late hard flip. So what that's going to look like is on the rail, 3/4 flip, late, front side, and the flip keeps going. So I did this once back in the day, and I was never happy with the clip. The lighting was all weird, like it was washed out. My camera had a stabilizing thing on it where it would try to track motion, so the camera like jumps in the middle of the trick. I was never happy with that, but it was one of my favorite tricks that I did in my part from back then. So I want to redo that trick, get some decent footage of it finally 13 years later, and let's see if I can. The technique for this trick is actually pretty weird because you may have seen a late hard flip before where you ollie and then you flick down and push it forward. But this is quite a bit different because you can't have that much height. That was a good start, by the way. You can't have that much height when you're doing a flip off of the rail. You can't pop, really. So you can't flick down. What I'm doing is I'm flipping the board really fast, and then I'm pushing it forward and kind of getting my foot out of the way before the board keeps flipping and hits it. But what that means is that I've got to hit the board in the exact right spot. So I kind of described it as a 3/4 flip late single flip. It's more of a 1 flip late 3/4 flip. And as we see some closer attempts, you'll start to see why. So I have to have the board on its side in the air, and then I do the late shove it to kick the bottom part of the grip tape, because the board on its side, like the part that's closest to the ground. And if I flip it forward, then that will continue the flip as it spins. So you have to poke your toe forward real quick and pull it back. And if you do that, then you have a chance at having it come together. And you see me starting to get relatively close. I'm actually feeling pretty good about it because I've done so many really hard tricks lately that have taken hours, and I started to actually land them much quicker than I expected. You can see my reaction there. I was feeling pretty good about that. So let's take a look at this from a couple other angles. Maybe you can see what I'm talking about, where I'm just poking my toe at the bottom part of the board. See right there. So it actually is like I'm flipping it the other way, but I'm not. I expected that to be harder. I really did. There are two problems with that clip, though. I went and watched it. First, this camera was set to 4K 30 instead of 1080p 60. I can't do 4K 60. I would rather have 60 frame per second footage for skateboarding because, you know, slow motion and everything. So I'm gonna refilm it because of that. And also, the landing was solid, but it wasn't like beautiful, you know? So because it was relatively quick, if I don't get it again, I still landed it anyway, but I might as well give it a shot. So I'm gonna see if I can get that flawless. All right, let's go. One thing I really like about this trick is that there's no way to cheat. So after trying the kickflip, underflip, and having it flip too little, doing like a 3/4, late 3/4, or in my case, even a little bit less than that, one thing I really like about this is that there's no way to do it early. So you can't really do a front shove it with the flip that direction. You can do a front shove it, but it's gonna flip the opposite way. You kind of have to follow the angle of the tail. Oh, check out this slow-mo right here. Carefully ducks being pet. He was running wild. There was another dog on the other side of the fence. You see how I just stacked up all that plywood and that stuff over there? That's because the dogs can poke their nose through the fence, so I just had to block it. Oh, let me show you. Steezy rail flip late shove. I do a couple of those. I figured I'd show you one of those in slow-mo. But yeah, so he was kind of running wild. I put him back inside for a bit. But yeah, so you can't really do a front shove it off the rail without it flipping the opposite way because you kind of have to follow the angle of the tail. So you can make it spin backside really easily. You can make it stay straight, which is a little bit harder. But making it spin front side, I don't think is even possible. And then the other thing is, there's a reason why I picked that one for slow-mo, because that one was much worse. And the thing about the flip is that they're both going in the same direction. So as long as it flips twice and spins frontside, you did the right thing. And I just did the right thing again. My toe kind of touched, I think, and then, you know, that wasn't a better landing that I was hoping for. So yeah, one thing that happens to me a lot is I'll land the trick pretty quickly, which you saw. It took me, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes or so. I think less, because it was only 3 minutes of footage or so. But anyway, I land it relatively quickly, and then the trick gets harder after that. To try to clean it up, it gets harder. So one thing that starts to happen is if I'm doing the late shove it, it's because I'm catching the board too soon. So it's doing a 3/4 flip instead of the full flip and being back on its side again. Eventually, I'll start to flip it too much, and then I'll catch it on the rail, you know, spin it back around and land on the rail almost the wrong way. So I'm doing it too much of a flip, too little of a flip, and the way that I'm trying to tweak that around is by moving where my back foot is. So the further back on the tail my foot is, the quicker the board flips, which can be a good or a bad thing because you have to balance how much height you can get versus, you know, which is very, very little, how much height you can get versus how quickly you're flipping and all these different things. Also, where you have your foot, if it's further back, by the way, that was super wide, you know, on the other cameras you can see I was very close to hitting the lens. I barely caught that. But yeah, so I'm experimenting with that, but if I'm flipping it with my foot too far in the tip of the tail, then it gets harder to catch the late flip. So it's a bit of a balancing act. When I try the same thing over and over and over and it doesn't work for like an hour, I eventually have to start doing different things, and then it just gets harder and I don't land it anymore. So a little spoiler, so that's an example of me flipping it too much. It's going to be cool to land that back to rail on purpose, but I'll maybe not do that today. So little spoiler alert, I do have 2 lands coming up. One, the nose scrapes along the ground and kind of bounces, so I'm not going to put that one in slow-mo. I'll just show you that one, and then I'll show you the one that I thought was actually pretty good, and we'll get to that right about now. And I did it. I'm really happy with that. I know the landing wasn't perfect, but it was good. It was very solid, no toe touch, no heel touch, no jump, kick, turn, or anything like that. Solid. And it felt good. It probably bounced off the ground, I'm not sure. I can't watch in slow-mo on my camera, I can only watch it back in normal speed. But yeah, I feel good about it. If it did bounce off the ground, it's a freestyle trick. You can't get that much height. And yeah, so I believe this was an NBD when I did it 13 years ago or 14. I don't remember exactly what year that was, but I'm pretty sure it was, and I've conquered it again. I don't know who, if anybody, has done it since then. It's not super hard if you get the timing right. Like, it's a flip and then a kick. You're not like doing a late hard flip. You don't have to do anything weird. You just push forward. And since the board's kind of sideways, you're pushing the bottom, and the spin and the flip comes with the same exact motion. So it's deceptively easy. Not easy, it still took me a little while. But yeah, that's a cool one. I'm happy that I actually got something finally and landed it solidly. But yeah, that's it for now. Subscribe so you can see more of this stuff. I'll try to bring back some of the old stuff from the glory days and see if I still got it. But that's it for now. Make sure you subscribe. You can watch some more stuff in the sidebar. Hit the like button if you do like this kind of stuff, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.